Hi everyone, thanks for being here. Today I will talk a bit about what we can do and what do we see to accelerate basically the adoption of DeFi. I will talk a bit about what we're building, what protocols I'm involved with are building, and in general the trends we see and what we can make out of it, and maybe how you could utilize that as both as a user or as a builder. To me, my name is Garry. I'm involved with the OVIX protocol, which is a lending protocol on Polygon POS and the first protocol on Polygon's new zkEVM chain, where we deployed as the first protocol ever, received 0.05 ETH from Vitalik as a thank you for being the first. And we have a lot of things happening. We had some unfortunate things that happened and some fortunate things that are happening. So, you know, ups and downs of DeFi. So let's talk about the things that we're very excited about. One is account abstraction. So what is account abstraction? It essentially helps you to mitigate all the problems that we see with using non-custodial wallets, such as MetaMask, where you have to remember your keys, you remember your passwords, and it's definitely a blocker for mainstream adoption. What account abstraction does is basically everyone will own their own smart contract, essentially, that will be able to authorize transactions, freeze accounts, recover accounts, batch payments or transactions. And essentially, this will help bring normies to DeFi or in general the blockchain. So the user experience will be significantly improved. In the future, essentially, you will have a single sign-on solution, like, you know, from Facebook or Google, where you just sign in with your account, and you don't have to remember your private keys. So this is something we're very excited about, and already there are a few tests that we're currently conducting, and as the technology progresses, because it's not fully rolled out yet, we're waiting for a few things to be rolled out. The more solutions and tools you will see in the space. Another thing that I mentioned briefly that we're very excited about is Polygon's zkEVM solution, and in general, there are now a number of zkEVMs deployed. It definitely will increase the utilization of block space, but also make exactly that more scalable, meaning more transaction throughput at a significantly lower cost. So the way the zkEVM works is actually the more users use it, the cheaper it gets, right? So basically exactly the opposite as Ethereum or all L2s currently work. And it's fully EVM equivalent. So talking to partners that maybe are deployed on Polygon proof of stake or another layer 2, for them it's very easy to deploy on a zkEVM, because essentially they can almost copy paste their code, because essentially the code base is very similar. And what it means for specific DeFi projects is that you work on a essentially scaled solution of Ethereum without really compromising the security of Ethereum. And if people really think about it, that's kind of the holy grail. I think Vitalik is you know, extremely excited about this, because it helps to scale Ethereum without compromising the security. You still use Ethereum as a gas token. So in Polygon's case, they use ETH instead of Matic, yeah, we're very excited. When we deployed the initial transaction or contract interaction with our protocol, took roughly $4 or $5. Now we're talking about cents. So you can see the zkEVM is increasing in efficiency and cost day by day. Yeah, we currently, as a protocol, have 4 tokens live, and next week we're gonna be announcing more, and we're gonna announce a big partnership with DeFi Blue Chip protocol exclusively on zkEVM. Okay, another trend that we're seeing are real-world assets, short RWAs. Clearly, this is almost untapped market. It's what the blockchain would be perfect to host RWAs on. We're seeing banks, financial intermediaries, or just corporations exploring how can they tokenize certain real-world assets on chain. And we believe that in the next 12 to 24 months, this will be probably one of the biggest narratives in the space. So I urge everyone to read up, unless you're already in the space, read up more on RWAs, because this is probably one of the biggest product market fits that we experience in crypto, and there are tons of projects trying to kind of enter that space right now. So definitely watch out for that. Us as a essentially lending protocol, we're actually gonna very soon start supporting invoice financing next to under collateralized lending, and we believe we're one of the first ones in the space to do so. So here you can see that there are different pools backed by real-world invoices by normal small, medium-sized businesses. We partner here with Polytrade that do the whole tokenization process end-to-end. And yeah, the goal is essentially to use the technology to make invoice financing more efficient, less costly, faster, and potentially even more transparent. I mean, currently, the whole supply chain financing process or invoice financing process is not on chain yet. This is, I think, something where we need more infrastructure for normal corporations that engage in trade or wholesale to put their invoices and their data and shipping data, etc., on chain. But this is the first step, right? That at least the liquidity already is connected to essentially blockchain or DeFi use cases. Okay, another thing that is partially connected is a decentralized identity. Some call it self-sovereign identity. There's no real term that everyone agrees on yet, but essentially it's using zero-knowledge technology for identity in Web3. The way it works is that you have 3 parties, like you can see, you know, a subject of trust or the identity holder, and a verifier and an issuer. The good thing is you can create your Web3 identity by verifying it, but those credentials are not necessarily shared because you shared them with an issuer, let's say some sort of third-party KYC provider, but because it has been minted essentially to your wallet or on-chain address, whatever that might be, there are different solutions for that. The party that requires a KYC from you will know, okay, this person has KYC without knowing all the details, mainly the credentials or your actual identity, while still knowing that you're a real human, and potential other things such as anti-money laundering requirements or other regulatory requirements can be covered with that. So this might be really the holy grail of how the KYC solutions in the world can progress. And we do think this will also create a huge new wave of users coming in that maybe in the past weren't really keen on providing their identity because they didn't believe in the KYC provider, etc. And here you will maybe have people that are anonymous become at least a bit, you know, less anonymous, let's say, and will share data with certain providers without sharing too much and still being essentially the owner of that data. So this will really, in our opinion, ring in a new era of use cases in DeFi, And this example that I'm showing is actually Polygon ID that is already live. There's already a non-custodial wallet that can host your identity. And we're currently in a couple of proof of concept stages with those guys. Okay, another big trend that we see are liquid staking derivatives. Chapala is already here, so obviously there's now this option to change validators and decentralize Ethereum more. What we see is that liquid staking tokens represent roughly 50% of all staked Ether at the moment. And I believe 20% of all Ether is staked. So that's already a very significant amount. Obviously, Lido being the current #1 player in the space. But after Chapala, we saw a huge increase with deposits. So I believe 200,000 ETH have been deposited just last week alone. And yeah, essentially it helps create more diversity in Ethereum, something Ethereum has been criticized for, and it will create way more DeFi Legos, right? So only a couple of examples here on the slide. You see the old DeFi Legos such as Curve, or Uniswap, Yearn, etc., and you know, utilizing Lido, Frax, Rocket, and now you have new use cases. It's, you know, some call it LSDFi, others LSDFi, that are very exciting, and this is something closely to be followed through, and yeah, will create way more I guess applications, but also potentially more sustainable sources of yield in DeFi, something we desperately need. Our protocol supports already 3 liquid stake derivatives: STmatic, Wrapped Staked ETH, and Matic X. And there's more to come, of course, and we're closely following what's going on in the industry to hopefully stay up to date also with that narrative. Okay, one thing that is extremely important, and is probably our key focus as a protocol right now, is risk assessment frameworks and change the way we think about risk. So as we all know, regulators keep saying DeFi has too many vulnerabilities, it's not safe for consumers, and it's not robust enough to handle uncertainty. And I say, yes, unfortunately, this is true. We post our attack that happened. We posted a postmortem where we basically analyzed the risks even deeper than we've done before in DeFi. And we concluded that essentially something like Oracle price risks or similar risks are currently something almost every DeFi protocol has to some extent. So unfortunately, almost every DeFi protocol with enough money and liquidity can be attacked and hacked. So this is a huge problem for the whole industry. This is one of the reasons why regulators, users, etc., are saying we're not too happy with that, because essentially, how can we trust a system that with enough resources can be broken? I mean, there's a counter argument that even in traditional finance, you can break the system with enough cash, but there you just need significantly more. Here in DeFi, with $50 million, you could attack a very large amount of DeFi protocols already. And how to solve this? So one thing is look at user-specific risks, right? Create dashboards for the users to understand what are the actual underlying risks. We started the process already last year, where we don't look just at health scores, but also at something we call 24-hour liquidation probability. In case there's too much market volatility, how would a borrower or lender, essentially their position, how would it be affected? And there are hundreds of simulations running every day, essentially looking exactly at that. Furthermore, though, we're looking at an advanced risk dashboard here on the slide, where we also look at something called toxic liquidations. So something we unfortunately have experienced, but also I would say most lending protocols as well. And some really crumbled and lost almost everything, or at least a portion of users' funds because the attacker used those oracles to create those toxic liquidation spirals. And one way to go about that is not just to look at on-chain and have basically real-time on-chain forensics, something we're rolling out very soon, but also look at other protocols in general, token behavior, and how something that could affect maybe a third party that is not directly related to your protocol or to your platform could still have second or third order effects. And unfortunately, we experienced that, meaning it's likely also others keep experiencing that, and we keep hearing that every day, as you know, in the news. So this topic needs to be treated with way more care and looked at, and from a professional risk management perspective, it needs to be looked at. And yeah, and this is one way how we think this could be at least partially be solved. So yeah, we're spending tremendous resources on those risk dashboards, on-chain risk management in real time with a number of security partners. And yeah, we think this is another bigger trend that needs to be talked about more often, especially in DeFi. And we think hopefully will happen in the next 6, 12, 24 months, where we'll see way more focus specifically on that. Another thing we think is something more DeFi protocols are looking at is changing the way interest rates work. In this particular example, it's basically interest rate curves, how those models can change and allow for basically smoother evolution of borrower rates. And how markets are being utilized. So meaning when there's excess volatility, so what we saw recently, even though it wasn't as volatile as maybe what happened during the FTX chaos, usually tokens start changing in price significantly, and this could affect users' position and the borrowing position. And by tweaking that interest rate model, you can at least bring down the interest rate burden on the user, because usually what you see with most lending protocols, once too many people take one asset, so we saw that during the USDC DPEG, everyone was kind of trying to borrow USDT. The interest rates went up like crazy, with some protocols up to 100% APR. So with that interest rate curve, rather than going up sharply like you see in here in the green line, you would rather have a more smooth curve, what you see here. And there's something at least the major lending protocols haven't utilized yet. Okay, concluding, we're very keen on continuing working out our platform. We're currently still in beta. We're very excited to support the growth, especially also on the zkEVM chain, and coming back to life on the POS chain, and heavily focus also, as I said, on the risk management part, as well as all the innovations that we currently see in DeFi. And yeah, just to conclude, we have Lido as one of our partners on our platform. So we're very keen on continuing working with them on listing more assets, and as thematic has been listed, so we're looking forward to actually list way more assets. Sorry about the red box in there, shouldn't be. And yeah, so to conclude, I give you one more slide about risk frameworks, how basically this could work. And we believe it's basically a combination of different, not just the, intercompany departments or interprotocol departments, but actually a bigger picture where you have your set parameters that every protocol has. You have your risk dashboards that monitor on-chain data in real life, and then basically DAO framework, meaning you check with both the user base as well as your partnering protocols, what are the frameworks that they're happy to work under, and what are the frameworks that you as a protocol want to work under, and then monitor that, review that, and essentially come up with this risk framework that works for everyone. If anyone wants to talk more about this, I'm happy to elaborate. And yeah, this is me. Check us out, follow us, and yeah, thanks for having me.